Scott Talley coming to you live from the worldwide headquarters of Network in Action. We're fortunate today to have Brandon Hooks with us from Crown Financial. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you for driving in. Brandon's from Katy, Texas, which we consider West San Antonio, about halfway to San Antonio.
Yeah, neighbor.
So Katy is a incredibly fast-growing area of Houston, or no, you don't call it Houston, but suburb of Houston. People don't realize, but it's as big as Pittsburgh now. It's crazy, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
So Brandon is a member of the Network in Action group there, and we asked him to come in because he's got a great topic. I'm going to let Brandon teach us a little bit today about factoring. So tell us about your past and how you got into Crown Financial.
So I have a history coming up through the financial industry. Worked at multiple firms, and I ended up at Crown Financial just because I found a need for a lot of my customers, a lot of my customers were business owners. Yeah. And with that being said, a lot of them had needs as I was working for their personal needs on their finances and working their portfolios. I started learning more about what their business needs and how they can get hamstrung at times, some of the challenges they face. And so I had a relationship with somebody in the factoring world, so to speak, to where I was able to send them for some guidance where I saw firsthand what the value they were getting out of it. Right. And it just kind of started trending that way more and more where I was helping more people with their businesses. And so I found more of a passion for helping people run their businesses, find certainty, and accomplish some of the things they want to accomplish and take advantage of the opportunities that are out there because there are a lot out there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if you own a business today, there's some traditional mechanisms for financing, obviously the SBA and go to your banker and things like that. But and I wouldn't say that factoring is really not non-traditional, but it's not as well known. So Tell us exactly what factoring is, and then maybe even give us an example.
Sure. So factoring is another tool that you use as the other tools you mentioned, and it fits a specific need. Specifically, it focuses on cash flow needs of a business. And so what factoring technically is the actual purchasing of accounts receivables in advance, so a business owner does not have to wait for payment. So that's what it is. Technically, is just an advance on an actual invoice.
So you think about that. You're a business owner. Maybe you don't qualify for an SBA loan or a traditional bank loan. You've got a couple $100,000 worth of receivables. You can prove that the history of payment is there, and you guys would jump in and walk us through the steps.
Okay. So in a nutshell, we'll start high level. What we do is we bridge that gap, and there's multiple values of that. But for the most part, what people are going to utilize factoring is to bridge the gap between when you invoice and when you actually receive funds. And so a quick example of that would be if you were to supply a product and you were to wait 30 days for payment. So the product is supplied, you invoice, let's say $10,000 example, and you're waiting for that $10,000. Well, in the meantime, as you're waiting that 30 days, you have another opportunity in front of you. And there's some stress that can come into play because you have to make a decision. Do I pick up that new job opportunity or do I wait? Because my cash flow, I can get hamstrung at times because my cash flow is in invoices. And so what will happen is someone can come to us at Crown Financial and actually turn that invoice into cash now. Yep. Whereas we can provide 80% of the value of the invoice, sometimes a little more, depending, it is deal specific, product or service related, etc. But the bottom line is we can turn that invoice into cash so that they can take on more jobs.
So if you got $10,000 in receivables, you got an opportunity, you need $8,000 in cash up front,
right?
And factoring could be an option.
Right. So we provide that to where you can go ahead and take on that new opportunity because now you have certainty. Yeah. And then once we get paid 30 days later, then you get your remaining 20% less our fees, and the fees are time based. And so because of that, your pattern that your customer pays, so you can have certainty also of your fee structure, so you can price it in, just an additional cost of doing business.
Yeah.
And so you're not stuck with a loan at the end of the day you're trying to chip away at. It's the transaction's finalized, at the time the customer pays the invoice.
So I want to stay with this hypothetical. Let's say you own a restaurant, you have receivables somehow, and you've got a chance to build a deck, but you need the $8,000 to build it. The good weather season's coming. You can get that deck built, and then all of a sudden you can throw out another 10 or 12 tables and recoup that money in 45 or 60 days. That would be an example of where you would use factoring.
Absolutely. So not only it's adding the growth potential, the growth value as well, right? Yeah. So now it's not just helping you cash flow for that immediate need, but it's also adding opportunities for more growth.
So how much time does a business need prior to, let's say if I approach you today with that same $10,000 and I was showing you what you need to see, what's the time frame?
The time frame for the most part can be pretty quick. It really is just a simple, the process to get set up is first to get you a quote. And all we would need for a quote is a list of your current AR aging, so we can see, who your customers are, how they pay, and also a list of customers you'd like to factor so we can look at their credit. And it's that simple. So those two items, I can get you a rate quote typically within 24 hours. And then if we agree to terms, then we can have typically the account active after that. And 48 hours after that, it will just simply, completing a checklist of items that we need to get the account active. So we can move relatively quickly.
And then you wire a check or you get the funds available to the company.
Correct. We send checks or wire, whatever our customer prefers.
So talk about some of the criteria. So you obviously have to have an aged AR. You've got to have customers that can prove they're in business. And
sure.
What are the type of things would y'all look at?
For the most part is credit worthiness of the account debtors. Technically it's account debtors. My customer's customer is the account debtor. So we look at their credit. If they're credit worthy, that's where we hang our hat for the most part. And so, and volume of course comes into play, but we don't have necessarily volume minimums or maximums per se. It's really just about the credit worthiness of my customer's customers.
So what if I'm, as a business owner, I'm worried about my customers knowing that I'm about to factor money and their credit being checked and that kind of thing? How do you manage
Sure. That's a very common question. And as far as us pulling their credit, we use Dun & Bradstreet. We'll pull their credit, and that typically will suffice. But the customer doesn't necessarily know we're pulling their credit.
Right.
And so what will happen is we'll pull their credit, take a look at them. If it's a newer company, we may need to go the traditional route. If Dun & Bradstreet won't suffice, there just might not be enough samples there, trade lines. And so what we'll do there is we'll just go the old-fashioned route and request bank and trade references. But we will go the extra mile to help our customer qualify their customer, the account debtor. We will, like I said, ask for Dun & Bradstreet. We'll go the old-fashioned route of bank and trades. If we need to, on larger projects, I've actually gone and sat down with the CEO or CFO of my customer's customer with my customer to look over financials. We're happy to sign an NDA to where we get more intimate, more involved in the transaction to really help facilitate business. In some of those scenarios, it's more of a team approach where my customer brings us in as almost a capital arm to help make things happen. And so we've accomplished some great things in that route as well. So point being is it can be as simple as pulling a Dun & Bradstreet profile saying, yep, they're qualified. Or if it's not, because there are times when the market's down and companies, their credit profile might be struggling a little bit, but they're great companies. They're very sustainable. They're doing well. But sometimes it takes time to reflect on a report. Right. That's where we go the extra mile to actually get out of the office and go visit them to help business do business.
Yeah. So, the type of fees, without being specific, people are probably familiar with hard money and the type of interest rates there. Is it sort of comparable, or obviously it's more risk for you, so
right.
I'm going to pay a higher interest rate than I would if I got a traditional SBA loan or something.
Right.
Sort of where does it fall in there without pigeonholing you?
No, and I'm happy to tell you the industry standards, and we're very competitive. We have a lot of customers that come from other factoring companies, and industry standard is anywhere between 2 to 3% every 30 days. Okay. And that depends on volume and, again, credit worthiness of the account debtor, my customer's customer. And so with that being said, we compete with the best of them. With that being said also is we also have flexible terms to where we don't lock our customer up into a contract time frame, which is a big deal because industry standard is to be in a one-year contract and auto-renew. At Crown Financial, we don't. We want to earn your business every day. So we don't want to just give you the best rate possible, but we also want to give you the ability to know you're in the right hands, and we want to add value, or else our customer can go somewhere else. So again, we some of the things that we say sometimes can sound a little corny, but it's true, and we want to earn your business every day, and we also Crown Financial helps business do business.
Yeah, that's awesome. Any other differentiators you want to mention?
For the most part, it's that we do compete. The other thing is we give our customers, this is a big one, is we give them the ability to factor what invoices they want to factor. You don't have to factor all invoices. Another one that separates Crown Financial is the timing of the invoice. So if my pricing is time-based, you can invoice your customer as normal, right? Mm-hmm. And then you can submit a funding request 7 days later, 10 days later, so that you control the timing of your fees, because our clock doesn't start until money goes out. Gotcha. And so we give our customer full control of the tool as far as timing, what invoices to invoice. You can invoice 0 invoices if you want. Mm-hmm. And so, and you can, but then later you might find out, you know what, I need to go ahead and invoice a couple. I'll invoice a couple. And they might only be a few days from 10, 15, 20 days from being paid because they're already on the clock in regards to you. So we give our customers full control. Some of my best referral centers are my customers. Sure. And so we really try to add that value. And we give them certainty because they control their clock. They know what our cost of doing business is when they utilize us, so they can price that into the invoice as well. And so, yeah, there's a lot to offer, and we really do it to add that value. And again, our customers have brought most of our customers.
Yeah, so, that's awesome. That's the best way to grow a business.
That's right.
We all believe in referral.
Right.
One more question for me. Have you ever seen a business utilize factoring when they shouldn't? When it's not going to be a solution. You know what I mean?
I do.
And the reason I say that is years ago I was talking to a guy about factoring, and he was really giving it a bad name. And the more we talked about it, the more I realized that he wasn't just being honest. That it looked like he was using factoring to salvage his company, and he wasn't doing anything to fix the bleeding. Does that make sense?
Sure. And so a lot of times I'll see my customers maybe not paying attention to details, right? Mm-hmm. To where we also offer some guidance as far as collections, making sure someone's on collections, because if you let things age too long, because you're content, because your margins are strong, right? Yeah. And you got 80% advance and your margins are well over 20%, then you can kind of let things age a little bit and get a little bit more expensive as time goes out. If something's 90 days, it's not the same price as if it was a net 30. That's right. So there's a lot of times we educate our customers and help them, give them guidance as far as utilizing the tool properly. But we also do offer, full service accounts receivable management too. So I have customers that will factor every invoice with me because that's a part of their model they need. Then I will also have customers that will factor maybe 1 or 2 large invoices every year. So because we don't have any minimums, and we don't have a fee if there's no money out. So we have 0 other fees. We don't have a origination fee. We don't have a commissions. We don't have any of that. So it really allows our customer to utilize it as needed. But there are times, as you mentioned, where they're not using it as efficiently as they could. Right. But there are times too, with that being said, I do want to mention this. There are times where I do work with bank officers, right, to where, for example, we can help them be an incubator to get to a line of credit at a bank at times as well. So we understand our role. So there's times on a new entity. So if you formed a new company, a bank's not going to give a new company a loan. However, because we put our credit worthiness into my customer's customer, the account debtor, I can act. So if you're doing business with a well-known, established company, large company, great credit, and you formed your company yesterday, if you have $2 million in invoices with that customer, I can give you $1.6 million advanced on that invoice. Yeah. So it can help a new business get a couple years of tax returns and financials to get to it.
Trust me, if you're a new company, hear what he just said. That 2 or 3% monthly is a lot cheaper than an investor.
That's right. So that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. So when we joke around about rent of money, right? Yeah. But the beautiful thing is you can pay for the price of money versus giving up equity in your company. That's right. You maintain ownership. It's cleaner. It's your business. That's right. And if you don't need us, you don't need us, and that's great. And we're happy for you. And when you do need us, and you use the right tool for the right reason, then we add a lot of value. So that's a great point. And so you maintain control of your business. You use us as needed. You give you full control of the tool, and it can be very helpful.
Awesome. Well, if I left anything out?
I think we covered quite a bit.
So give us your phone number and email if you want to take a question from somebody that may have a question or two about the subject, or maybe need your service. How would they reach you?
Okay, I'm at Crown Financial LLC. You can visit us at crownfinancialhouston.com.
And that's CROWN.
Yep. Yes, crownfinancialhouston.com. Again, Brandon Hooks. You can reach me at 281-646-2905. My email is bhooks, B as in Brandon, HOOKS, bhooks@crownfinancialhouston.com.
Really interesting topic. You covered it well, and I think you answered some of my questions, and obviously the audience have those questions, and a great introduction to another option for businesses.
Absolutely.
Brandon, you've been doing some networking. How's networking action working for you?
Networking action's been great. Went to a few functions, one yesterday and one earlier this week. Awesome. It's been wonderful meeting a lot of good people.
Yeah, that's what we're all about, is good people like you. So thanks for coming in.
You bet. Appreciate it.